Hello and welcome to a new video. Today it is time for my July wrap up and it was a pretty good one. I completed 16 books and DNF'd nothing, which was great. I read a total of 6,090 pages and listened to 57.5 hours of audiobooks. I had no 2 stars, I had 2 3 stars, 4 4 stars and 9 5 stars, so it was mostly a good month. But let's just dive right in. So I started off the month with All the Stars and Teeth by Addie Grace. This was a 5 star. I really enjoyed this. I loved the world and I loved the main character, and I thought it was just so well written and it really set high standards for Addie Grace, which you'll see another one of her books a bit later on in this. Next up was Something is Killing the Children Volume 5 by James Tynion IV. Obviously it was a 5 star. I don't know what else I can say about this that I haven't said about volumes 1 to 4. It was incredible. The artwork is beautiful. The story is so much fun to just like get lost in. And I will not stop recommending this because I absolutely love it. Next up was Cherish by Tracy Wolff. This is book 6 in the Crave series and this was a 5 star as well. I really enjoyed this. This follows on, so Charm is book 5. Most of Charm takes place between books 1 and 2, but it's very important to read before book 6 and after book 4 because there is a reason that they were released in this order. And also a lot of people keep thinking that Charm is a novella, and whilst it technically is, it also is very important because if you don't read this, you're going to have no clue what they're talking about in book 6. It very directly links to it. I absolutely loved it. I was like fully crying at bits. And it just made me feel so happy, and I just love this series so much. Unfortunately, that did not continue on to the next book, which was Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. Now, if you watch my vlogs, you might be wondering why I'm not holding up the book, because I had the physical book. I unhauled it already. This was a 3 star. I was so incredibly disappointed with this series ending. I wasn't the biggest fan of book 2, which usually middle books are my favourites in a series. But like I wasn't a massive fan, but it still got a 4 star, which is what the first book got. I had high hopes that this would also be a 4 star or even a 5 star, but the curse struck again and I did not like this. I was, for one, confused. 2, there were too many POVs, some of which were only introduced. We got a brand new character like halfway through this book and I'm like, who the hell is this character? Why are you bringing in a new character halfway through the final book in a trilogy? And I don't think that character was that important anyway, but they were made to seem important. I don't know. I felt like this was too much about the war and the politics. And that's not what the series started out as. And if I'd gone into the series knowing that's what I was getting, then it would have been probably better. But I didn't go into this series wanting war and politics, not to this extent. And I just was not a fan. But I have had people who really love this series say that Laini Taylor is not the best at finishing series. So yeah. Oh well. Next up was Unconventional by Maggie Harcourt. This was another 3 star. This was okay. In the words of Chloe from Chloe Reads Books, this is fine. This book is fine. Another one, I've had this on my Kindle for a while. I got it on a 99p deal years ago. I don't think it's one I'd reread. I really liked the aspect of like conventions because the main character is the daughter of someone who runs fan conventions, and I really liked seeing like the behind the scenes of that, but I just didn't care for the romance. So yeah, I felt like those characters, like their relationship was just a bit eh. Next, we have Lifelike by J. Christoph. This was a 5-star. Am I shocked? No. I didn't actually know what to expect from this because obviously I've read the Nevernight series, which is fantasy. I've read Empire of the Vampire, which is fantasy. And I've read the Illuminate and Aurora Cycle series, which are both sci-fi. However, they're co-written. And this is Jay's first sci-fi that wasn't co-written. It was just him. So I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. But I should not have doubted J. Christoph because I absolutely loved this. I really liked the twists and turns. I really liked the fact that this is actually technically a retelling and how it was done. And I just really enjoyed it and I'm so glad and I cannot wait to continue the series. Next up we have Star Wars Volume 5 Yoda's Secret War by Jason Aaron. This is part of the... is it the 2017 run? I think the series started in 2015. So this one was a 3-star. This has been my least favourite one so far. I don't think it was necessary. So basically we follow, instead of following Luke and Leia and that, they are in it a little bit, but we're seeing part of Yoda's past. And I just, in the overall story, it might be important, but I just don't think this volume individually was necessary. I was bored and yeah, wasn't a fan of this one. Next up we have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Told you you'd see the author's name again. This was a 5 stars. This was a 5-star. This broke my book curse, I think, I hope, because I've had some pretty bad luck with books recently that I've been reading. I've just not been loving them. This one came through for me. I loved this. 5-star. I was actually a little bit shocked that I enjoyed this as much as I did because it's pretty low fantasy. And it's set in like our world, but in like the 1800s, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the 1800s or the early 1900s. So it's a historical setting, which I'm not usually a fan of, but I really liked how this was done. This was hauntingly beautiful and I really liked the atmospheric vibes. It gave me Addie LaRue vibes. Now, some people have been really confused when I say that, and it is purely on the fact that Signa and the Reaper give me Addie and Luke vibes, but not in the sense that they are like Addie and Luke. And the Reaper is a lot better than Luke. I'm not a fan of Luke, like. But it's really hard to describe. I just really thought it gave, the whole book gave off Addie LaRue vibes in the sense like when you're seeing her flashbacks. It's really hard to explain, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. Yeah. Next up, we had my reread of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I matched this today. I really like that. Obviously, this is a 5-star. I don't know what else I can say about this that I haven't already said. I really enjoyed this. Again, this is my 4th time reading it. Like, I love this book a lot. Next, we had another reread, and it was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Again, 5-star. Absolutely loved this. I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my reading experience more this time because whilst this is the 4th time I've read it, the first 3 times I read it was before I had read book 2 and 3 of this trilogy. And knowing what I know from books 2 and 3, I saw a character differently in this one and things stood out to me a bit more. And I feel a bit silly for not knowing the direction that Cassie was going with in a certain aspect of this plot, but really enjoyed this. I tabbed. There's a bit of blue. There's not a huge amount of blue in this one. There's going to be more blue in the 3rd one because that makes me cry. Next up, we have Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahurin. I was terrified to read this because I genuinely was scared for the whole curse that series enders has on me at the moment, but this didn't disappoint. This was a 5-star. I absolutely adored this. I am so glad that I finally finished this. So this was part of my Lisa Made Me Do It vlog, which I will leave linked or up here, wherever. And I'm so glad she made me read this, because I've been putting it off because I have been scared. It started off because the second book broke me so much that I didn't want to read the third book, because I thought like it would break me even more, which it did a little bit, but not as much as I thought. But then it ended up being too scared to read it because I was having bad luck with reading end of series, and I didn't want this to be one of them. But I powered through and I absolutely love this. Next we have Twice Shy by Sarah Hogle. This was a 4-star. I really enjoyed this. I did not enjoy this as much as You Deserve Each Other. The main character did start getting on my nerves a little bit at one point, but overall I really enjoyed it. I loved how the relationship like developed between the two of them, and yeah, I really like how Sarah Hogle has conflict, because obviously it's a contemporary romance, it's got to have a conflict, but the conflict isn't like a big massive thing like in most romances, and I really like that, because sometimes I don't want there to be a big massive heartbreak where they like fully break up, go their separate ways, and then the epilogue they're back together. Like sometimes I just want it to be a little thing, and that's where Sarah Hogle comes in. Next up is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. I really enjoyed this. This was a 5-star. This was a lot spicier than I thought it would be, and I just had such a fun time reading this. Like my main thing from the beginning like of the book as well is that her family are trying to get the attention of one of the siblings, and they call the sibling every single name of the different kids. And if that's not accurate representation of a family with multiple kids, I do not know what is. Like, it was just perfect. Next up was The Crooked Mask by Rachel Burge. This is the sequel to The Twisted Tree, which I read years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And then I just never got around to reading this one when it came out. Finally read it, really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star. I absolutely love the Norse mythology behind these, like this duology. I love how it's done. The first book, if I remember correctly, it is Odin, but then it's Hela, whereas this one, Odin is involved and mentioned and whatnot, but it's Loki, and you know I'm a Loki girl. Like, not just Tom Hiddleston Loki either. Like, I absolutely love Loki. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Next up is Darth Vader Volume 4 End of Games. This is by Kieran Gillen. This was a 4-star. I really enjoyed this. About the same as the other 3 volumes that I've read of this series. I'm really enjoying getting to see Dr. Aphra, because I have heard her mentioned quite a lot, but I had never actually like met the character before I started this series, so really enjoying getting to see her. And then finally we have Cardcaptor Sakura Volume 4. I am loving this series. I love the artwork so much. Like, it is beautiful. Like, I can't even like properly show you, like, it doesn't do it justice. So yeah, I just, oh, the artwork's just beautiful. This was a 4-star, I forgot to say that. There was one thing in this and I was just a bit like, did no one question Sakura on this? Which was a bit weird, especially since her dad was right there and he didn't question it. But it's fine. It's fine. Sakura gets away with like doing a lot out of parental supervision, but we move on. Really enjoying reading these, and I can't wait to read the next volume, whenever that may be. Okay, so that is all of the books I read in the month of July. I didn't do a readathon in July, but for my May the TBR Be With You, C3PO was translated book, which was Sakura, which I read. Fennec was a mood read, which was Cherish by Tracy Wolfe, which I read. Ben Solo was a book with enemies to lovers, which was Belladonna, which I read. Yoda was a short book, which was Something is Killing the Children, Volume 5, which I read. And Darth Maul, a book with a siege or battle, was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, which I read. So I got all of the books read for my TBR game. It's going to come to no shock that my favourite book of the month was Something is Killing the Children, Volume 5. Like, I'm not shocked in the slightest. I love this series so much and not much can beat it. Let me know in the comments what your favourite book that you read in July was. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.